Okay, so last week we talked about best practices from the technical SEO side. All about your website, what you should be doing, what you should be implementing, a few like key takeaways. And this week we're going to talk about how to make your website work for you.
Yes.
So, and what is it all about?
Conversion tracking.
Conversion tracking. It's like a little SpongeBob moment.
See, there's the hands. See,
But
I'll do it too. Before we get into that, hopefully everybody that listened to episode 2 went on our website and read your article, because it's way more in-depth. Good
I think
stuff.
it's a pretty handy little checklist.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done that yet, go do that.
Check it out on digital-plumbing.com.
All right. So conversion tracking. Question number. Wait, we need to do a question, right?
Question of the day. What's it gonna
This is a short one because we have a lot to talk about.
That's fair.
It's Girl Scout cookie season.
It is Girl Scout cookie season.
This it is. What's your favorite cookie?
What is my favorite cookie? Well,
And
I
don't
grew
give
up in
me
the
any
Girl
BS
Scout
with the
world.
top 3 or anything like that. Like your favorite cookie.
I grew up in the Girl Scout world, and I really, really want to tell you that it's the Samoas. But it turns out a quality do-si-do is my favorite. A little peanut butter sandwich cookie. There is nothing better. Yep.
Easy enough.
Yeah. What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Well, I'm not much of a sweets guy, but I got to say that when I do
What's
get the
that
sweet,
like to not be a sweets person? Because I can't get rid of my sweet tooth. Like, it's real bad.
well, yeah, when you do savory instead of sweet, then you basically put a pound of salt on everything, and then your heart explodes eventually.
Oh,
So
okay. So, like,
that's
tit for tat.
that's
Okay,
what I'm working
anyways,
towards. Yeah.
the important things.
Yeah.
Girl Scout cookies.
I when I do sweets, I love the combination of peanut butter and chocolate. Like that's like Reese's Pieces, Reese's peanut butter cups. Like
So
those
I'm
two go
hearing
together
a
so well.
Tag along in your future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I got a Girl Scout. My kid's a Girl Scout, so
He's my cookie dealer.
that's right. Your dealer.
It's important. Everybody needs a cookie dealer.
Support the Girl Scouts, people.
All right.
Okay.
So with that, can we actually dig into the topic?
I
Or
guess.
conversion tracking?
Yep.
Okay, so conversion tracking and why we need it.
Yes. So let's start with what is a conversion. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much any action that you want your visitors or users to do once they
On
reach
your
your website or your ad or your Facebook or whatever. It's like in the big world of conversions, not just on a website, but in the context of a website, it's what do you want them to do when they get there?
So to boil it down, it's a tracked, measurable event that indicates if a website visitor has moved from browsing an interest to actual intent with your business. So it brings them one step closer to actually doing business with you, your brand, whatever it might be. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and a conversion event can be doing business as well, like a purchase event. So it's kind of both showing intent like a lead as well as like an actual conversion, like a purchase.
Lead generation, phone calls, email submission, contact form.
Yep.
So many different options. And I'm sure we'll get into that throughout this episode.
Yeah, and to that point, that you just listed off multiple, it is okay to have more than one. You don't have to have one singular conversion. There can be multiple.
Yeah. The thing that gets me though is not every action on your website, not every button click, not every submission is a conversion. And I really want to hammer that home this week. So.
Yes. You don't, there's so many things that can be tracked in, like GA4, which we'll talk about later, that you'll have that knowledge. That doesn't mean it needs to be a conversion. Like you can use that other information, that other analytics information as a piece of the puzzle to say, what did they do before they actually did a conversion? What led them to the conversion? Those are those other events that are important, but they're not conversions.
It's all about that analytics, baby.
That's right. Gotta love it.
Okay, so not everything is a conversion. You can have more than one conversion, but what should we actually be tracking?
That's a big old fat it depends, right?
Sure is.
So in my mind, if you're running e-commerce, then it's simple. It's a purchase. That's a conversion event. Other lead events might be adding something to a cart or viewing details on a product. But in terms of non-e-commerce, then conversion events can be something as simple as filling out a contact form, like somebody showing intent to engage with you, or signing up for an email newsletter, or even, and you can do like clicking a button to a particular page that you know leads eventually to conversions. That button click can be a lead event, which can be tracked as a conversion event.
Yeah. And when we moved into the GA4 world, and tell me if I'm wrong, because, this full technical side, not necessarily my bread and butter. But when we moved into GA4, we moved into like a event tracking kind of system. Is that true?
Yes, there was event tracking in Universal Analytics
Okay.
before GA4, but it was a separate deal. If you had an event, you put a label on it, you put a category on it, and you put a value on it. In GA4, they switched to everything as an event. A button click is an event. A page view is an event. A purchase is an event. And so you can have those default events that GA4 tracks for you, and then you also can have custom events on top of that, and that's how you set up your conversion events if they're not already tracked by Google by default.
Gotcha.
So everything is
So
now an event.
all things
All things
are
are,
events.
yes.
And Google has a set of those that are already set up, and then we can add as we need to, show what moves the needle in our own businesses. True?
Absolutely. Yep. And it's super easy to set up custom events now.
I think, and this is a little bit of a side note, but one of the things I think understanding what the goal of your website is super important for this conversation, right? Because we've worked with clients all across the board. You have somebody who is an e-commerce business, and that's super straightforward, right? But we also work with somebody like a tourism, like a destination marketing organization. And then you're like, okay, but we want people to come, and the only metric that we ever hear is heads and beds, but it's really hard to show from a destination marketing organization how many actual hotel stays that leads into. And so then it's being a little bit more creative in terms of that event tracking and what that is to show those conversions. But there's still the opportunity for things like the newsletter, lead generation, page views, and stuff like that. So just really figuring out what actions you want people to take from your website.
Absolutely. And in that particular situation, like a lot of times lead events happen off of your website. Like there are a button click that leads away from your website, an external link to a hotel page, or an external link to a booking system of some kind. And so once it leaves your site, it gets a little more complicated because you obviously don't want to lose that data, but there are ways to send that back, and that gets into a pretty technical world. But even just an external link can be a key event or a conversion event. GA4 calls them key events, just so you know.
Cool. So I guess boiling this down, what would your top reason for conversion tracking, for using conversion tracking be? Like what kind of data do you pull from that?
You can, if you tie a conversion tracking event with the full range of GA4 data that gets collected, then all of a sudden if a conversion event fires in GA4 and it tracks it, then you can follow that back to the beginning. You can say, did that person come from Google? Did that person come from an email? Did that person come from a text message? Once they got to your site, how many pages did they view? What was their flow? How did they actually get from point A to the conversion event? You can actually track all that because once the event is tracked, it's tied to that person's session in GA4. And you can create reports that look at not only that session, but any session that resulted in a conversion event. You can create audiences from people that had a conversion event and use them for retargeting or remarketing audiences in Google Ads. The key piece is recording that information. Once it's recorded, you have the full breadth of GA4 reports and analytics to tie to it, to look at these sessions in all kinds of different ways.
So much data, so much analytics. But what would your top use case be? Like if you were to tell somebody, okay, so we have conversion tracking set up, what is the easiest thing that you could grab from conversion tracking?
They're probably the source would be the most obvious
like the
one.
acquisition
Source,
right?
yeah. So did they come from a search engine or a specific campaign? You can see all that.
Which of your acquisitions is actually converting?
Exactly.
And then from that data, you know where to put your time, attention, money from there, which is kind of
Then
cool.
you start making data-driven decisions.
Data-driven decisions that
Yes.
actually work for your business.
Right. Not the gut. Don't listen to your gut when it comes to digital marketing.
I mean, there's a little bit of that. There's always a little bit of that. You have to try things, but
Maybe for you.
whatever. Insert massive eye roll here if you're not watching the video. Okay. And I think, so going beyond the acquisition piece of it, I think that the conversion tracking is so key for your ad placements, whether that's Meta ads or Facebook, like the Facebook world, or if that's Google or wherever you're putting your ads, being able to actually tell that platform what your goal is on the website and be like, I'm going beyond landing page views. Like, yes, I want people to get to my site, but once they're on the site, I actually want them to make a phone call, or I want them to submit this form, or I want them to buy something. And showing Google that that's what's important to you helps Google understand who to bring to your website.
Yes. Yeah. They have a whole machine learning, AI-driven conversion optimization platform. Once it knows what you want, then it can optimize towards that. So it's super important to have conversion tracking and ads.
Yeah. So, okay, so now we're tracking our conversions, or we know we need to track our conversions because that's what matters to our brand and our business and our organization. But how do we track that? Like, how do you get into it?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. You do probably need to have some developer knowledge to get started. GTM, all it is,
Like a baby amount.
just a little amount. Like, and even, in terms of like WordPress and Wix and Squarespace and Shopify and all those places, a lot of times they'll have functionality already built in where all you need to do is get your GTM measurement ID or whatever, the container ID, and just plug it in. You don't have to actually be putting scripts and stuff like that. But that's all it is.
Because if somebody tells me to go add a script to the head of a website, I'm like, me? You would like me to do that? I can't help you.
You immediately break things when you get involved in that world. So we try to keep you particularly away from it, but other people that aren't,
What
exactly.
rollbacks are for. It's fine.
Right.
It's
So
what
GTM is just, it's a container. It involves two scripts. You put them in two different places on your website, and it's a container that you then go log into Google Tag Manager and you build variables, triggers, and tags. And through those, you can track events. You can do all kinds of other crazy stuff.
Like a Tupperware container?
Sure, if that helps you.
I mean, okay, so like it's a place where you're putting things in, is what you're saying.
Yes. In fact, I think
bunch of random things from across the internet. You're putting them in.
Well, hopefully not too random, but yes.
Okay.
So
I don't know. I've put some random things in GTM containers on behalf of other agencies. So
that's true. When we write the article for this episode, we'll give you we'll build some visualizations to kind of help illustrate what that is. But now that you can do GTM containers, within that container you create a trigger. Say I want this to fire on this particular page, like a thank you page, or I want to fire on this particular event, like a purchase event.
Or even a page load, right? Like you can add your Google Analytics tag, your GA4 tag can go inside your GTM container, correct?
Exactly. And that's a good point because there's a distinction between the two. When I first started, I had no idea that GA4 and GTM, I thought they were competing with each other. I thought they were like, you use one or the other. That's not true. You can use GTM in addition to GA4. It's a method to deploy scripts and events and tracking on your website through a container.
So on a really high level, like things that might go in there, you have your GA4, so you have your analytics tag. A Facebook pixel could definitely go in there. And then you can start defining these different events that we're talking about, and that feeds directly into your GA4 account. What other like high level things would you throw in a GTM container?
It's a great method for like any third-party script because websites include third-party scripts so often now. Not only tracking scripts, but like advertising pixels, like you said, Facebook pixels.
All of the retargeting stuff. That's how you build that into your website.
Exactly. Yep. And there's a lot of built-in tags within GTM. Tags are what actually sends the code to the website. Lots of built-in tags that do a ton of stuff. Like your GA4 is a built-in Google tag. You don't have to put the script in manually. You just
Your
plug in
Google
your
Ads, it all feeds in. You can put your ads tag in there, and then that's how you can use the conversion tracking from GA4, and your ads can use that, and it's like this nice little meeting spot, a meet in the middle.
I love how your brain makes sense of all this. It's like you can explain it better than I can.
That's because I'm so untechnical. I need my Tupperware, okay?
Yeah. So, compared to how it used to work, oh my gosh, when you wanted to do a custom event, you literally had to dig into the website's code using JavaScript and manually send a G tag event with the parameters built into it. And you had to be able to fire that whenever the actual event happened. And it's so much easier now with GTM. You can just do it in a couple of clicks with a trigger and a tag.
I mean, if I can use GTM, it must be pretty simple. I'm just saying.
And you've done some advanced stuff. Don't sell yourself short. I've seen you do some crazy stuff with GTM that I had no idea how to do. So when she says this, people, it's not, she's just being modest is what's going on here.
Okay, fair enough. But
That was
also,
another eye roll.
It wasn't a full eye roll, but my point, like, yes, I can do a lot of things in GTM, but the point is I have very little development knowledge. If you asked me to go actually back to my point about adding something to the head of a website, that would have never happened. If you asked me to dig into the JavaScript like you were just talking about, wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But I know enough about how things, like, again, meet in the middle, that we can build something there, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So when a client comes to you and says, man, what is Google Tag Manager? Everybody's talking about Tag Manager. I know I need Tag Manager, but like, why do I need it? Like, what are some of the top reasons why you need it, or key benefits maybe?
Yeah, beyond what we talked about, conversion tracking being so much easier in GTM. One, it's 100% free. It's one of those many Google products that they offer for free because you're the product. But we love the Google machine, so we keep using it.
Feed it.
Feed it. So yeah, free. It's got built-in version tracking. So you set, when you publish versions of the container, you can roll back if there's any issues. You can restore, and you have basically a history of every change that you've ever made to your container. So that's super helpful, especially if you're dealing with multiple people that are involved, multiple agencies, multiple users, admins.
This is a good time. Like, one of the things that comes up in my world all the time is different agencies want their own container on the site. What is the best practice there?
So officially, you can have more than one container on a website. It's not like illegal. You can do it, but it's just not a good idea. And for the following reasons. One, you've got multiple containers on your site. It has to load those multiple scripts every time the page loads, because it loads on every single page of your website. So there's a performance hit there, a very small one, but there's a performance hit. Two, if you have conflicting tags and triggers, you can have duplicate stuff going on. You can have multiple events being fired by accident. You can have one script competing with another one, breaking one because the other one's trying to load before it. It's way better to have one container, all your tags in there, and just knowing everything that's loading on the website in one place. And you can provision user access to multiple people and give them different permissions. This person can view only, this person can edit, this person can submit a version, but they can't publish. I mean,
that is one of the best features, in my opinion. If you are in control of the container, and let's say you're working with two different agencies, they both want to be putting ad scripts on the websites or some kind of conversion tracking, and you can give them access, and then they can say, okay, I put in the tags that I want. They can't hit publish, and then your team or you or whoever's in control can go back in and be like, yes, that makes sense. No, we already have that on, like, in the container. Like, what are you doing? Or this is a duplicate, or this doesn't make sense, or this isn't the correct way to set it up.
Yep. Or they just made an honest mistake. It's like another set of eyeballs. We have multiple clients that submit versions that we have a review process for that. And we're like, oh, you kind of set this up not quite right. We'll fix that, then publish a new version before it ever breaks anything when it gets to the website.
Yeah, all good things. But version control, access control, I mean, be careful with who you give access. You can, to your point, mess things up, but putting that extra layer of checks and balances in is really
Yeah, I
helpful.
mean, 'cause if for some horrible reason, probably rare, but if somebody were to get access to your GTM through, say, a third-party login that you provide to somebody and you gave them an insecure password or whatever, they can install custom scripts on your website through GTM that
And
do
that's a
nasty
bad
things.
thing?
Yeah.
What would happen? Like what kind of bad things could?
Oh, say for example, you run an e-commerce website. Somebody gets access to your GTM because you shared it with somebody and they had a weak password. They install a script that adds JavaScript key logging, and they log your customers' credit cards as they're inputting them into the form. And then they steal your credit card and your identity and
All
yours
right,
too.
so some
So
personally identifiable information is now out there on the dark web or
yeah,
the World
well,
Wide
yeah.
Web, just in
Just be
general.
careful who you share with.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
The only other thing I want to mention on GTM that's a huge benefit is the testing capabilities. So in GTM, before you publish anything, you can hit preview and load up your website, and you can literally see the pages that are loaded, the events that are being fired. You can see all the different page loading of order because there's multiple. And I can say, I click on a thing and I see this event fired. Here's the parameters that were sent to GA4 or would be sent to GA4 if it were real. And you can literally fully test a proof of concept for any tag or trigger before you even hit publish.
Which is so helpful because especially in the world of like messing, like it's a sandbox in my world, right? I'm like, I
Yes.
wonder if I can do this. And then I try to set up the tag and the trigger and the everything. And I swear to you, half of the time it does not fire on like round one. And I'm like, okay, so if I was a button, how else could I like identify this specific button on the website and then try to go like redefine that and test it again until it shows up. And it's so easy. It's so nice.
So nice. Yeah. Because even when a trigger doesn't fire, you can click on it and see why it didn't fire. Oh, these CSS classes the targeting didn't match up. The page URL didn't match up. You can be like, oh, right, I need to adjust the rule. And then it usually works the next time.
Yes. And I'm sure like in that article, we'll put some information about like how to identify buttons and things like that, just like things to look out for on how you can actually use GTM to fire those tags and triggers.
Yeah, because it really matters. It makes a difference whether you have access to like the HTML of your site versus if you don't. Both of them are viable in GTM, but sometimes you have to do a little bit extra work if you don't, because you have to target things in more advanced ways, which we'll kind of give some reference on that.
For sure. So in my world, GTM, like the top two things, it gives you the flexibility and ease of change because you don't have to use a developer and they're instant changes. And it gives you an organization for your pixels, your tracking data, like everything there. Those are my top two. This is why you use GTM.
Yeah, it's like a separate layer that doesn't require direct access to the code. So it's perfect for marketers who either don't want to get involved with that or don't know how, and they can still be functional and optimize for digital marketing conversions.
Yeah, GTM is a very powerful tool, and why wouldn't you use it, kind of thing.
Exactly.
All right, so the key takeaway today, I would say without conversion tracking, you're literally optimizing and it's guesswork. Like, it's guesswork without conversion tracking. So
Exactly.
get the conversion tracking on your website. And if you want to get started with GTM, where do you head?
Tagmanager.google.com. It's just a little subdomain, free to set up an account. You can have multiple accounts. You can have multiple containers. If you're managing multiple websites, you can put the same container on multiple websites. If you want to cross track multiple domains, like a e-commerce site versus a main, brochure type site. So there's lots of flexibility and it's all free.
Crazy. All right. Well, I kind of think that's the high level of GTM.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like GTM. I like it a lot.
Me too. You can do so much with it. So much.
Okay, until next time.
Adios.
Bye. Thanks for joining us for a little digital plumbing. I'm Dan.
And I'm Katja. And as always, we don't have all the answers, but we love digging into the questions with you.
Be sure to follow along for new episodes each week. If you love the digital marketing world, we're keeping the conversation going on digital-plumbing.com and can't wait to hear from you.
We'll be back next week with the new episode, but until then, stay curious, stay creative, and don't be afraid to get your hands dirty.